Hello, everyone. Today I have finally beaten Grand Theft Auto Vice City. And this was actually, I think, the last game I had on the original Xbox. So it's a pretty big moment for me, along with finishing all my 360 games, GameCube games, now Xbox games. I'm really just left with PlayStation 1 and 2, which I never grew up with, but I've gotten into, obviously. But anyway, Vice City, I'm not sure how I feel about this one. It's a weird one where the notion and the idea of the game and the game itself don't really match up. I would honestly say, while it's not a bad game, I would say it's definitely the weakest of the GTA early trilogy, from GTA 3 to Vice City to San Andreas, which is undisputably the best. San Andreas is absolutely king classic old GTA before they went to GTA 4 and became kind of hyper-realistic physics engine, cars hitting people and stuff like that. And in that sense, I mean, just in general, San Andreas is my favorite because it meshes that line between realism and surrealism and parody and whatever. And something I only just realized is that in all these games, or at least in this game, the executive producer is Dan Houser and Laszlo. And Laszlo is, of course, the radio show personality who shows up on, the radio in the game. And I think I've said this in my other reviews of GTA 3 and San Andreas, but the radio is like the main soul and character of this series. The radio personalities and the script and the writing is so key to the Grand Theft Auto experience that if you don't use the radio while you're playing this game, or similarly for the newer versions of the game that might not have the exact same songs or at least the dialogue, it's a really a huge loss because it's such a different experience with that. And so Laszlo, he's this radio personality, but also he's credited as the main producer along Dan Houser. So you can tell that the essence of what they want Grand Theft Auto to kind of be is really behind that one radio show program. And Laszlo is, I mean, first of all, the radio show stations in the Grand Theft Auto games are so underrated and overshadowed by the reputation of Grand Theft Auto that they are legitimately the funniest things to listen to. You can go on YouTube right now, and I highly encourage you, if you've never even played a Grand Theft Auto game, just listen to the radio segments, because they are more than worth it. They're worth it on their own, because and really what is the essence of the radio show program is that it is a total and complete parody of the American culture, of the American lifestyle. And so, for example, they have this one show where you have Laszlo, I think it's actually Chavez, who is like their Mexican correspondent. You have Mr. Chavez and his array of eccentric, extreme guests on his public radio, and that includes people like a nudist rights activist, a stereotypical highly a highly combative soccer mom, a overzealous religious self-interested pastor, and a super goth guy, this guy who has like a 3 Easy Steps to Life book, and all this, all this, and the characters are really, really funny. And so it just kind of struck me how Grand Theft Auto is almost more of a comedy than it is supposed to be taken seriously. It kind of rides that line of, okay, yes, we're idolizing, these characters like Scarface and, these hyper violent, and it's the fun, like it appeals to, young boys, where it's like, okay, yeah, here's like this cool guy who doesn't play by the rules and he's the mafia boss and whatever. But the other half of Grand Theft Auto is being extremely self-aware of that stereotype and that reputation. And so it rides the line between being serious and completely not, and denigrating its own main characters or American culture in general. And it really is just a platform to really poke fun at a lot of things, especially through the radio stations. I would say, though, that from the essence of the radio stations, I find with each game there's always that one song that encapsulates the feeling of the entire game. And I think for San Andreas, I can't remember if it was San Andreas or 3 to be honest, but it's one where they had a Young Turks by Rob Stewart. That just became my song, and I don't associate it with the vibe of San Andreas at all, but that just became my song. And here it was undisputably I Ran by the Eagles. It is just so peak Miami. Like, that is the absolute core feeling and vibe in this game, and it just fits in so well. And of course, if you do play any Grand Theft Auto games, make sure you turn the radio music to full, because it is so core, and it's a weird and kind of a bold experiment where most of the game world is deadly quiet. There is no really original composition except for the intro, and the intro to Vice City it's hype. It's really hype. It comes in with these drums and these synths, and then a trumpet comes out of nowhere and just steals the show, and then the game automatically loads. I really, really dig the intro to Vice City. The other aspects of the game they're okay. I mean, the map, I think, is appropriately small. Honestly, when I think about how the maps got bigger and bigger in the next Grand Theft Autos, I really didn't enjoy that, honestly, because I kind of preferred a smaller map, because there was always stuff to find in it, and you could always remember certain routes, certain hidden locations. And what really struck me playing this GTA game is that one of the main aspects of a Grand Theft Auto game that I think is maybe overlooked again is the aspect of discovery. And I just find it really cool and really exciting that you're just driving along some back alley side street, and you go around a corner, and behind a house there's like a special assault rifle that you can't buy in a store, and it's only in that one location, and it's this one weird one-off thing experience that's like, oh, that's so cool, I had no idea this was here. And it's like, yeah, you could look at a guide and figure this out, but because you found it, you feel personally connected to it. There's also other things that I did. For example, there was a flamethrower item, which, by the way, that is absolutely a fantastic item and weapon in this game, is the flamethrower. I don't think that's in any other Grand Theft Auto games. It might have been in 3. San Andreas, I think you only had Molotovs. I'm not sure. But yeah, finding that flamethrower, and I mean, I know the peak ultimate thing to do with it is to go to the Malibu nightclub and just spray everyone in that vicinity with the flamethrower. It just feels, it just feels ridiculous and a lot of fun, frankly. Additionally, and just the fire looks really cool in this game. I don't know what it is. And the other thing too is that visually, the iconic San Andreas sunset and sunrise that I associate with that game actually appears here first, even after 3. 3 definitely did not have this, where you have this really bright red streaking sun that basically blinds you for like a couple seconds when it happens, and it's a really great effect. I really, really enjoyed it. It makes it feel, I would say, I don't know, very real, very powerful, very iconic, and it makes sense. And when you're in the South, the sun is definitely a very, super, super big, important aspect or characteristic of that setting and that style. Again, another location that I really liked aesthetically was the very first safe house you get, the Malibu Hotel by Oceanside. There's something about it in the interior that just feels very surreal. I don't know how to describe it. The way the lighting is streaming through the windows, the fan is slowly spinning. It feels like an environment. I don't know how else to say it. It feels like a real place, like that has a soul to it or something. And it's that weird feeling of discovery that someone, most places you can't really go inside most buildings in the game. So when you can, the fact they've put so much detail, so much attention to this one space makes it feel really special. And I don't know, it makes me feel kind of not emotional, but just appreciative, maybe is the right word. But in any case, I really like the motel, and you don't really have a reason to go in there too. It's I mean, there's clothes in there. Sorry, clothes in there to lower your wanted level, which I think they removed that as a feature later in the game. And also, I think you unlock a chainsaw that spawns in there, which is kind of cool. Which is obviously, you know, like a thing, a reference to Scarface. There's a lot of references to this game to Scarface. This is basically the Scarface the video game. To be honest, there's a whole killing some guy with a chainsaw, not in a bathroom or a bathtub, but like the mansion, the final mansion you get at the end of the game is like 1-to-1 like Scarface. I wasn't even looking it up. I just saw a clip from Scarface. And I'm like, oh wait, yeah, that's 100% what that is. So, and it's true that I feel like a lot of Grand Theft Auto, even the side missions, are borrowed from American cinema and American stories and whatnot. For example, one of the later late game missions is with Phil, the Vietnam vet. And they have this whole thing where he makes moonshine and explosives, and eventually those two end up mixing not very well. And so basically he ends up blowing his arm off, and you have to drive him to the hospital drunk, because just even smelling the moonshine is so strong it gets you drunk, which is pretty funny. In any case, what I found about that segment is that I know there's a driving drunk mechanic in GTA 4 that you can basically activate whenever you want, when you can go drinking and driving. But in Vice City, it feels way more realistic the way they have the blur effect. And that's the other thing I was going to mention besides the whole sun and the very iconic brightness that happens at sunset and sundown, is there's also a super iconic blur effect that frankly I think they really overused in this game. If you remember those segments in Majora's Mask where the screen goes all wavy during one of those HD cutscenes, the whole game was like that. The whole game basically invented motion blur before motion blur was a thing. Everything is wavy and blurry to an almost obnoxious extent, where the first hour I was playing it, I just thought this is way too much, and then I just kind of got used to it. I'm like, okay, whatever, I don't really care anymore. So yeah, that was kind of an interesting observation. In terms of weapon selection, I'd say it's pretty decent. Again, you have a freaking flamethrower, and oh yeah, I was gonna talk about that, how I farmed 2 locations where the flamethrower spawned. I don't think you can buy it in stores, so the only way you can get it is basically there's one place down by the docks where the shipping yard is, and the other place is right actually across from your mansion diagonally. There's this one house that has a star-shaped swimming pool, and it spawns in there. And so as I was just going throughout the game, I would just constantly go between those 2 locations as I was on my way there and just pick up ammo for it, because you can't buy it, so the only way is to aggregate it, and it's a lot of fun to use. It also has really good range. Also, it's actually pretty effective, not just a gimmick. You still have things like Molotovs, grenades, remote grenades, bombs, whatever. You have a pistol, you get a Magnum, you have a normal pump action shotgun to a full auto shotgun. You have 3 different types of SMGs, from Mac to like the MP5. You have 2 different types of assault rifles. And for the power weapon, yeah, there's a lot of options, honestly. So there's obviously the flamethrowers I talked about. There's also like an MG, like a fully automatic machine gun, but it kind of mostly functions the same as the assault rifle, which is that you go into first person mode and you can only use it in that capacity, which frankly kind of sucks. It can lock onto anything. It's just a more powerful assault rifle, basically. But then you can get the Gatling gun, which I was surprised because I thought it was only San Andreas, and that just shreds and tears through anything. It's like a one-hit kill. Overall, it feels really fun to use. And then, of course, the RPG. And it's just kind of unfortunate that you can't carry each one of those weapons, like an RPG and a flamethrower and a Gatling gun. You've got to choose one of them. So that's kind of unfortunate in my opinion. But still, I'm glad you at least have the choice to use a bunch of those things. I guess also just a general PSA for most Grand Theft Auto games that you play or are playing or considering playing. Do not what I did, which would be very much compelled to do, which is that I'm going to stock up on a bunch of flamethrower ammo. I'm going to use all my money to buy as much possible ammo, the max amount of ammo for this type of gun, because I've almost beaten the game and whatnot. And the reason you do not do this is because, like I said, those slots, when you get a new weapon, it replaces that item and all the ammo in it if it's a completely different weapon type, like the special weapons are. So I lost all my flamethrower ammo to, I think, the MG, because the third or fourth last mission, you have to do this like arms deal bust, and it forces you to pick up this weapon. So in order to complete the game, I had to say goodbye to all of my flamethrower ammo. So in general, never, ever, ever, honestly, never buy weapons in a GTA game. Just actually don't ever do that. Unless you only buy like 2 rounds of ammo, fine. But there's going to be some point where you're going to get a weapon or be forced to acquire a weapon that's going to replace that weapon. I mean, between SMGs, you keep the ammo, and that's no problem, but something like that will happen. So it's a weird thing where you don't ever really spend your money until the end of the game. And really the goal of the game is to acquire these properties which give you returning revenue. And I also forgot, of course, there's the bolt action auto sniper. So of course there's that. But on the properties, I guess I forget about this about most GTA games, but the end game really is buying properties and doing their missions, and they have a little spawn area where they just generate revenue. And so you don't have to worry about, how am I going to get money if I do all the main story missions and don't have that cash? Well, eventually you unlock these assets that just give you free money, so you can just buy as much as you want, which is like, okay, that makes sense. And I guess that was an emphasis in GTA 3, not really in San Andreas going forward. For example, one thing I had to look up in this game is that for the cherry, what do you call it? The cherry popper ice cream mission, I bought the asset and I thought, oh, cool, I can deal drugs out of this ice cream truck, which is kind of fun. But after like 20 or so, it's like, okay, why would I do that? Why would I bother with this? It turns out if you do 50, and they don't tell you this, if you do 50 drug deals with the ice cream truck, it then starts generating revenue of like up to $3,000, every, like whatever, 10 minutes or something. And I just thought to myself, it would be nice if I knew that. And it would also be nice, and I think that one might have been necessary. So here's where we're finally getting to my core gripe with GTA Vice City, is the mission outlay and structure. And there are some issues with every Grand Theft Auto game, or Grand Theft Auto games in general. For example, one thing I think does not get talked about enough that you hear about in almost every other game is the camera. The camera in this game is a piece of garbage. And you'll most notice it and be forced to reckon with it when one of the last handful of missions is you have to go into a police station and bust this guy out. So you are having close quarter firefights where there's walls all around you, and you're trying to run. And also, I don't know if it was also the same in GTA 3, but Tommy, when he decides to run, he goes absolutely silly mode. He goes Sonic speed silly mode, where you run 3 times faster than what's acceptable. And I'm fine with that because it's effective and it works, but it looks really, really silly. And so when you're in this close quarter area, it's even more elevated how silly it looks. But really the fact you're trying to get out of this police station, and you keep running into walls, and the camera is having a seizure. And I've heard people complain about the camera in Sonic Adventure 2. I've heard people complain about it in other games. In Sonic Adventure 2, you can use LNR to control the camera. You can actually move it and manipulate it. And here, you're kind of out of luck. You can flick the right stick to go into first person in any direction. Whatever you're facing, you can't flick it to look at that direction. You'll just flick wherever you're going, and then that'll recenter the camera, but you have to walk out of it. It's a nightmare, frankly. And this was still the early times of 3D. And I remember there was an infamous or semi-infamous or famous interview with Rockstar saying that a lot of their philosophy on innovation and technology and 3D whatever came from The Legend of Zelda, from Ocarina of Time specifically, because they're like, yeah, we're trying to figure out 3D stuff. Nintendo seems to actually be innovating and they know what to be doing, and they fully admit that the whole Z targeting feature from Ocarina is totally how they just copied that. They just completely copied it and put it in their game. And I just always found that so interesting, that there has always been this connection between The Legend of Zelda and Rockstar. And now Rockstar has gone completely open world, and then eventually Zelda kind of, I guess, Breath of the Wild copied from them, I'm sure, in quite a few ways in terms of open world design. Yeah. But yeah, no, the issue that I was also getting to, so the camera is one. The second one is the actual story structure and progression. And this is maybe, again, so here's another issue about GTA games in general, that it's not a huge issue, but I'll still bring it up, which is that there's such a huge disconnect between the mission execution and the cutscene that precedes it. There's like one cutscene where it's like, I need you to get some military hardware first. I'm like, okay, it's like an assault rifle or something or whatever. I end up stealing a tank. So I had this recurring thing where I would play the game, I would start the mission, and then I would have no idea or be shocked to see, oh, what am I doing? It wouldn't be an issue because like once I got there, I'd say, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. But it just never fit the expectation of what was going to happen, I guess. The one exception was with that Vietnam level where it's like, okay, he gets drunk and blows himself out. I'm thinking, oh, I probably have to drive to the hospital. And it's like, yes, you do. And you're also drunk. And it's really hard. And that was a lot of fun. That was a very memorable mission because it was all very logically consistent. And so, yeah, that's just another issue I have where what they say you're going to do and what actually ends up doing are two different things. It would just be nice if you were able to build up that hype about this mission you're about to go on and then actually deliver on it. If there's some guy who's like, I need you to steal a tank, and Tommy's like, whoa. Okay, look, I'm in the mafia, be you crazy or something. Like, I don't know. I would love to see that kind of interaction. It's like they ran the dialogue for the cutscenes first and then decided what the mission was going to be in a separate room. That's kind of what it felt like. Again, it's not a huge issue, but it happens. Again, about miscommunicating things. And again, this is my personal big issue with Vice City, and I don't think I really had this in 3 or in San Andreas, is the asset missions or the property missions. Now, this is an issue for me because at a certain point in the game, you kind of finish all the story missions, all like the people and the characters you talk to. And then, earlier in the game, you can't buy this asset, you can't buy this asset. And then eventually, now magically you can. And some assets do have missions and icons on them. And there's a certain point where you just run out of story missions. And so I'm looking at the map and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I can buy these properties and I can do these missions for them, but they really feel like side missions. They don't feel like really important missions. And so I'm thinking to myself, did I glitch something? Did I glitch myself out of the next story mission and I can't beat the game now and I have to quit? I mean, I was seriously considering putting this game down and stopping playing it because I thought I had beaten everything and that was it, and there were just no credits. And I'm like, wait a second, no, you always follow the credit rule. You can only put down the game once the credits roll. And I thought, wait a second, wasn't that thing with Sunny? And so this is what I'm talking about. There's a narrative disconnect where Sunny is the main antagonist, and I've by this point completely forgotten about him, completely forgotten what I'm doing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You want to get lost in the story or in the world more than the story. But if it's to the point where you think you've beaten the game and you haven't, that's kind of an issue. And so they just did not communicate at all that there are these properties, some of which are marked, some of which are not marked on the map, that you have to buy and then do all their story missions to get extra money to then unlock the final missions and section of the game, which is just not communicated to you at all. And that's my main issue, is that the pacing of this game just feels so wrong and so dull, and I just was not expecting this. I don't know what else to say except I was expecting the story and the missions to have a more clear theme or vibe or energy, but they just all felt like a bunch of more or less side missions. Go here, ambush this guy, get this piece of software for this guy that the French government also wants, and they send French SWAT teams after you. Just a bunch of random stuff that just happens. And in the background, oh yeah, because the whole beginning of the game is that Sonny, who is in Liberty City, sends you down to Vice City, and basically you're put in charge to do this drug deal. The drug deal gets busted by a third gang. They steal the money and the drugs. Sonny is pissed. You have to pay him back. And in the process, and he's like, I'm coming down right away. And like 3 months pass, and it's just you building your empire, buying all the properties in the city, and becoming the real mafia boss. And then the final confrontation is with you and Sonny, and you just take over everything. And that's it. And you have your best guy, Lance, and you have your lawyer, Rosenberg, and you just run the city. You're just doing whatever. There's not a lot of twists or turns or intrigue. It's just a bunch of doing stuff, which is what you're supposed to do in a video game, but it'd be nice if there was, again, a vibe to it. I guess the other thing too is that I just expected there to be a lot of more boat missions in this game, since there's a boat on the front cover and it's in Miami. And the thing that I didn't realize that they did in San Andreas that I assumed they did in this game is a little thing called swimming. Yeah, you can't swim in Miami, in Vice City, in GTA Vice City. In fact, as soon as you touch water, your health begins draining as fast as if you're on fire, which has some poetic irony to it for sure. Furthermore, if you fall in water with like you just jump off a boat, and there was this one effing area where you have this Cuban dictator you do missions for, and he's by a dock, and there was one time and because you run so stupidly fast, I just ended up missing the bridge and just stumbled into the water. And I immediately your health drains like that. You die. And so because of that, I guess there were only a couple boat missions. But the whole fact you're in Miami and you can't swim, it just feels... It feels bad. It feels wrong, I guess. And it's just weird, honestly. The fact you can't swim. And they did it in San Andreas, but still... It still surprised me in this game. And yeah, that whole section of the game where you're doing the asset missions, you're like, okay, I'm collecting money, I'm getting my stuff up, and it's like, for what? Because there's no story mission, there's no big heist or whatever, and so you have to do those things. It's just not transparent that you have to do these things that feel like side missions to unlock the main mission. And I did have that idea, like, oh, wouldn't it be crazy if I have to buy all the assets in the city to unlock the final mission? And I thought, no, that's too ridiculous. But that's literally what is intended for you to do. And I had to literally look up guides how to do this. And in fact, there were some assets I didn't even know existed, like the pole position club, the strip club. I completely forgot about that in the southeast end. I'm like, oh right, I can buy that, but it's not on my map, and so therefore I totally forgot about it. Also, just on that again, by the way, thank God I looked up a guide. If you actually wanted to start generating revenue, you need to spend like 5 minutes in the strip joint in a personal dance for it to actually activate. And even when you do the 5 minutes, it doesn't end. It's like once you do at least 5 minutes, then it's like, oh, okay, it plays a little cutscene, you can get revenue now. So and it's not clear on this at all. It's not like the game does not tell you things you should know that you need to progress. So that's my biggest issue, honestly, on all of this. I guess maybe another issue I have, it's not really a big issue. I mean, this has kind of been true of all Grand Theft Auto games, but there's just certain times you'll be driving and you'll just be perfectly weaving in between traffic and fine, and then you'll like tap the side of a light pole and you'll wildly flip out of control. I mean, that is kind of fun because it's unpredictable, but it would also be very frustrating for certain driving missions. For example, in order to get the driver for the final heist job, that driving mission was pretty damn hard. I just remember I fully understood how long, or like how to tap the B button, when to hold it, which turns to take. It really took a long. It felt like a real grind, basically, and it felt like you had to drive absolutely perfectly. And I do appreciate the RNG though in the game, because it can be super unfair in your favor as well. For example, what was it? I was this one street race, and I had failed it like maybe 5 or 6 times. I was getting kind of frustrated, and there's this one time where I totally flipped out. My car caught on fire. I got out and said, "Oh well, I should restart and load my last slave to get back faster." But like, no, I'll just hijack a Phoenix and I'll just keep driving. And so I did that, and I was like, okay, the race should be over now. And I'm driving, and I see all 3 cars are stuck in an alleyway, and they're stuck all by this traffic. And I just thought, oh my god. And I came in first and I won the race. Like, that kind of dumb luck happens a lot in this game. And I think that's what makes the Grand Theft Auto formula so fun. It's that level of you can't predict, of unpredictable consequences and effects, that you don't really know what's going to happen. It's like a chaotic toolbox, and you just don't know what's going to occur and what's going to take place. And I really, really do appreciate that aspect to its game design. I think the other funny thing I found about this game is that you take damage to your body armor no matter what. So if you fall off a building, taking obviously non-gunfire damage, it all gets allocated to your body armor first. So body armor is basically just a second body. It's like a second suit you wear over yourself. And so no matter what kind of damage you take, the body armor will kind of go first, which I found kind of funny / advantageous. Again, another experience I had with this game is just typical of every Grand Theft Auto game I've ever played. The 2-star wanted level has a weird range of feeling like 0 stars to 6 stars. There are times when I've had 2 stars where there'll be like absolutely no cops. Like, I'll just be sitting there and absolutely nothing will happen. And then I've had 2 stars where it feels like around every single street corner, there's a cop car waiting to ram me. And as soon as I get freed, there's someone else running me over. And it feels absolutely insane. Aside from that, I think my biggest moment while playing this game, it was some story mission. And I had failed it like at least 10 times. I think it was the bank. No, was it the bank heist? No, it wasn't that one. I think it was to get the code cracker for the bank heist. That one was really insane because we were in this getaway car and there was a pay and spray. We had like 4 or 5 stars on us. And just as we're pulling into the pay and spray, the car lights on fire. I just thought, we're screwed. This isn't going to work, but I'm going to try it anyway. The garage door is closing. The cops are closing in. The sounds of gunfire and sirens are all around us. And you hear the clunk of the garage door closing. And I'm just closing my eyes, waiting for the explosion, the mission failed screen to happen. And a second passes, or it feels like a second. And it says, yep, you're all good to go. No more cops, and you're not exploding anymore. I was like, thank you. I went wide-eyed, like that face when 1 HP. I was absolutely certain that was the end. That was absolutely certain death. And yeah, it was really an amazing moment. That's like something that only happens like 1 in a million times, you know, kind of thing. In terms of vehicle selection, I'm pretty much like the vehicles. Again, another thing that I hate and I love is once you buy the auto shop, you have all these garages and you have a pay and spray. And you're like, okay, cool. But I thought there was this whole illegal like collecting cars thing. And so I took a few cars to the garages like Phoenix, Banshee, Infernus, etc. And I would also drive them to the part right beside the race thing, which I thought, okay, is the race, do I have to do all the races to generate value for this asset? And I drive beside it and I said, we're not interested in this vehicle. I was like, okay, I didn't get something more rare or something more expensive. And I didn't realize that the in-game, like on the wall, there's a poster with this font that it's black and white, that does not stand out, that actually lists all of the vehicles that they want. And they're not things like expensive cars. They're really crappy, easily attainable cars like the Idaho and the Stallion. And I thought, okay, this is weird. And when I drove them there, I put them in the garage and I stored them, and it's like, okay, you're good to go. And I thought, okay, that's going to be tier 1, because now they're going to ask me to get the expensive cars. It's like, nope, that's it. That's all you had to do. That's do that one list, and now you can basically generate revenue from this place. I'm like, okay. I really like that it was a very short list and it was very easy to generate money for that asset. But at the same time, it's just like the selection of cars and the fact it did not stand out to you, and I had to look up a guide to realize you could even do this, was just really bizarre, I guess. So yeah, I mean, the asset missions are probably the worst and weirdest part of this game, that you, unless told otherwise, you would have thought you would have beaten the game. You're like, oh, okay, that's it. I did all the story missions. We're good. I own Vice City now. But they're like, wait a second, Sunny still hasn't come down yet, and you forget about Sunny. Anyway, I'm not going to go over that part again. The chainsaw is pretty cool as a melee weapon. I think they have one in San Andreas, actually. Of course, you have boats and helicopters, and those are a lot of fun. I think the one idea or vibe I did get from this is that GTA 3, because it happened right around 9/11 and it's in New York, it had this very somber, serious, surreal tone. I'm not sure if I said this before my GTA 3 review, but for some reason playing that game reminded me of Silent Hill for some goddamn reason. It was really bizarre. I don't know what to make or say of that, but yeah, it felt very, very just depressing in a very interesting way. Well, Vice City, it's just fun. It's bright, it's vibrant. I think the other thing to know that's interesting is that this game was made by Rockstar, but also Rockstar North, which is based in like Leeds or Manchester, UK. And if I'm showing my ignorance, I believe Rockstar originally was actually a UK company, and GTA 1 was based in London, of all places. And so it's interesting to think that there's a English-British perspective and parody on the American lifestyle essentially by non-Americans, which I think might add to the I don't know, feeling or idea of the game more than anything else. Even though it does feel very kind of, authentic, but that whole sort of Americanized or fetish or whatever makes a lot more sense if it's run by a bunch of foreigners, essentially. Also, I just love the mission complete sound effect in this game. There's that one meme online where it shows all the game complete vibes and feelings, and it's absolutely so accurate. And I absolutely love the one where it's the guy floating through the air. I think it's like Chris Angel or something. And yeah, no, the mission complete theme is like spot on for this game. It feels absolutely great. I'm also thinking about the characters in this game, the main story missions that you get. I mean, really the strong point that of most GTA games are the side characters. Just because, they're the people who you experience, and they're the main kind of meat of the game, so to speak. And I can't really remember anyone besides Phil, the army vet who gets his arm blown off and likes brewing moonshine. Like, it's really hard to forget that guy. There's your lawyer who's always complaining all the time in a Jewish voice. There's the Cuban general. But yeah, there's not a lot of characters in this game that are really memorable. Oh, there is also the Haitian voodoo mama, and those are just weird missions, because every single time Tommy enters the house, he's like, am I in the right place, or what am I doing here? And it's kind of implying that Tommy has been hypnotized or drugged into helping this Haitian gang woman. And she reminded me really of was it Pirates of the Caribbean, the Calypso woman. But yeah, it was just kind of like, okay, that was weird. And then what really bugged me is that after you finish her 3 missions, she messages you saying, don't come around here no more, Tommy. We don't want you here. I'm like, it's rude. So he just brainwashed me and used, I don't know. It was a weird series of missions. Like, okay, suddenly he's possessed. It's like, okay, whatever. I think the other thing that's really interesting about this game, really off the heels of GTA 3, is that Claude, as I recall, he's a totally silent character, even to the effect where when the game is ending and there's this mafia boss girl that's talking his ear off, you just hear this gunshot at the end of the game implying that he killed her. In this game, it's really interesting because they find like, oh yeah, the main guy is like, we can give him a personality. We don't need him to be a stand-in fill-in character. And so Tommy, he speaks a lot. He has his own attitude, his own personality, and they even went as far as to do a thing that I kind of wish they brought back maybe in other GTA games, which is that right after a cutscene before the mission loads, Tommy will give a little monologue and a little dialogue of what he thinks of the situation, which I just thought, oh, that's really cool. They went from a totally silent protagonist to a one that's completely super talkative, and he says things to people and is super kind of, well, not aggressive and whatnot. But yeah, the dialogue in this game, especially from the radio stations, is absolutely the funniest things I've ever heard, especially the commercials for like napalm for your underarms. It's like Agent Orange on your sweat glands, which sounds like it is, and they're just reselling it. There's just a lot, like every single dialogue when you tune in, it's so funny, and the commercials are really great. They're a lot of fun, and they're just really, really funny, honestly, which makes me think, yeah, it's mostly a UK thing if they're so comedic about it. There's also just, again, weird choices, like Phil's first mission. You do target practicing to show that you really know how to shoot, which feels like a tutorial level game, but this is like getting the guy who's going to be the security for the final heist job, and you're doing target practice now. It feels really, I don't know, not planned out well. Oh, I think my absolute favorite story mission was the one where you have to ride the motorcycle over the rooftops to do the Candy Sucks promotion, basically. That was so much fun, and I think this is one thing that I've talked about on my GTA playthroughs. The one thing that makes it very personalized and user specific to me is the fact that Xbox, the original Xbox, has this really neat feature where if you burn CDs onto it, you could actually play your burnt CDs through a custom radio station in GTA. And so the CDs I have installed are things like, well, you have kind of my main favorite games from the other platforms. So I have the Ocarina OST, I have the Halo 1 and 2 OST, I have the Nier and Nier Automata OSTs, and I think also American Idiot by Green Day. And so it adds a surreal other level experience when listening to that music. And so when I was doing that motorcycle mission, what was playing was actually a CD I had burnt myself back in the day of a bunch of Sonic Adventure and Sonic Adventure 2 music, because I couldn't find a CD for it. And so I just blasted that while doing the motorcycle mission, and it just felt amazing. It felt great to hear Open Your Heart, Live and Learn, What I'm Made Of. Just a real Kino experience, truly a elevated experience. But yeah, overall though, I still feel Vice City is the weird middle child of this trilogy of early GTA games. In a way, I almost prefer 3 because it's just more streamlined. It just makes more sense. Also, the music collection. I mean, it's hard to compare the music because the music is probably the best in this game and San Andreas. And then later, it's not quite as strong. I mean, GTA 4 will introduce me to a lot of, obviously, Slavic Eastern European music, which I'm still very grateful for. But I feel the music is really strongest in these two games, and the music in Vice City I think might actually be the strongest because you have all the 80s hits. They already know kind of what's good. Like they just have a lot of really, really good music in this game. But sadly, it still feels like a weird middle child. It doesn't have a real Miami vibe to it from like the story and the structures, the structure of the story missions. Like it feels like any other Grand Theft Auto game, like blow up the construction plant, do this. I mean, there's like, yeah, there's a boat chase, but there's also boat chases in Liberty City. It's like, come on, man. I don't know. I wish there was something more. And yeah, there's a guy, you go to a golf course, you beat him up with a golf club. That's like a very, typical mission. So that's my only gripe, is that I wish there was something more Miami vibe, more something neon fuchsia vibe to this game besides just the environments. And yeah, GTA 3, it feels very distinct. San Andreas feels very distinct. Vice City kind of feels like weird in between DLC, kind of. There are things that I like about it and things that I really don't like. But yeah, if I had to rank them, as San Andreas 3 and then Vice City. It's still an okay game, but it's still just not iconic or archetypical in any way. It's okay. It's okay, but I guess I'm glad I saved this for my last GTA game, because I just got the feeling it wasn't as big and as impactful as the rest of them, which is, well, true, as it turns out. I do like the fact that the icons have that neon blue and pink, style to them, but yeah, I don't know. I just wanted something from the story that felt like you were really in Vice City or in Miami or something that was just distinct, but it feels like every other GTA games, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm glad I played it. Not the best, but still middle of the road. It was okay, and that kind of ends off, the trilogy of what Grand Theft Auto has done and what they're capable of. And so, I'm saying pretty much happy with the whole experience. And now it's time to move on. I mean, Xbox is basically done, and now I'm gonna whole new world of things that I'm really finishing my backlog. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for this video. And yeah, I don't know what Grand Theft Auto is going to be like the future. GTA 6 is promised to come out soon, and I feel like it's not going to be exactly what people want, but I mean, we'll see. At least this was part of the golden age, and that kind of wraps it up in a bow. Anyway, that's pretty much all I got to say for this game. And yeah, I'll see you later, guys. Bye.